live, man. There we go.
He needs to mute his mic.
All right. All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, all right. We are here. Let me check to those of you that are in the room. We'll give you guys a shout out. Shout out those in the room and being with us live. We appreciate you guys so very, very much in that. And in the background, we had a little quick emergency. We can hear you there, City. So we are trying to get those things set and get those things ready to go. Because what we got on our mind for tonight is, are you willing to change? That is powerful all by itself. I think many times we have talked about it in different sessions and different teachings, different meditations, and all of those things. But one of the things is to be willing to what you are doing. So somewhere in part 1 and 2, we will get into those things and try to build those things up, try to recognize where we need to be at. We are talking about really a transformation. Those are the things that are there, transformation that we need. We have to have a change of mind in order to continue to serve the Most High. Now, not only that, but anything that we do, we have to be willing to change. And I have discovered, in my own life and also in accompanying with others, I understand that sometimes it could be difficult. But this is something we need to look at. And what we need to do is to discover some things and why is it? Because I think a lot of times it's just fear. And so if we can overcome fear, then we can be able to change. And so if we do those things, then we can embrace our growth. We can embrace the growth that we need. So are you willing? And that's something that is something that you can really meditate on, and it is a daily thing. One of the things that I want to do is take a day at a time. That's very important. Always take a day at a time. Of course, we can plan in all this now. Set your goals. That's not what I'm saying. But in order for change to take place, let it be daily. Let it be daily, and then you can introduce those things to your life. And so, what we're going to try to do is bring some real life examples. So I'm bringing the brethren up, and they can give you something what's impressed on their heart about that, even if it's in their own life. And so there is a challenge here. A lot of times, throughout the internet, they have what they call a challenge, right? So this is a challenge for us to do what? To examine ourselves, to examine where we are at in our lives as a whole, most of all now as the things of being in the covenant, but as a whole, meaning what we believe and then all of those things. But in this, are we willing to change, or do we just want information? Now we can just have information, but we have to have a place where we can say, I am willing. I'm willing to change. And so that's what we want to look at as well. It is very, very important. It's going to be the most important part of this particular topic is the wilderness and then to change. Are you willing to change? And so let's get in a place where we can embrace our change. And if we embrace our change, then the only struggles, and we'll add to this, but the biggest struggle is the fear. Or I am curious on what it is. I'm curious on what it is, what hinders, and what you, brother, think it hinders people from making a change. And then this change has to be openly, and then according to what it is, all changes are immediately, but they may not take effect until later. And when I say later, sometimes you have to, that's the growth period. You grow into something, but the change has to be immediate in that. So we want to really seek how we can change in our life. All right. We want to deal with the mindset, right? So we're going to cultivate and we're going to plant these seeds of righteousness in our lives. And so we're going to make sure that all of the possibilities that the Father give us, that we are willing to let Him lead us into all directions of our life, and then we'll have that. So somewhere in there, we got to practice. Once we're willing, and then we accept these change, we got to have to practice these change. We're gonna have to focus, and I think a lot of times, a lot of our focus get off. And so we have to focus in a positive manner. Always, I have learned through the years, always be flexible in our focus. Well, be flexible. Always adopt that. That will help us change and have. Once we're willing, then if we flexible, we can change. If it's easy for us. I guess I'm trying to find the right word. And then, of course, I have found that seeking or having support of others. Oh, what a grand in that. So I think all you brothers are back. I think we'll come on and bring ourselves up in here and bringing that change. So we're going to tonight. We'll take small steps. We're going to take small steps. We may not have all the story, but we're going to begin something, right? We're going to make a beginning in this, and so we're going to take some small steps in this and be able to build in that, build about in our progress and all of those things. So I think one of the things, brethren, I had one of the questions that I had talked about fear. Now it don't have to be the all in all, but it can be a fire starter, right? It can be something that started. And then I want to know what are some Pacific fears that we kind of face that causes us not to change, right? And I know you have to have that willingness, but what's some of the things that manifest in our life, manifest in our behavior? You think that what may cause us not to change sometimes? We always start with us, but you also know others in their lives, and how difficult that sometimes you may in this. So, you men, as students of the word, I want you to just come on and chime in on that. And Jadiah, you could go ahead and open that. I'm gonna let y'all in here early. Won't talk as much.
Right. Shalom. Praise to the Father. I think this is a really good topic. And I just love how you brought up the word fear. And it's many things in people's life that can cause them to not want to change. And fear is one of them. And there are many fears out there, but one that I think of is some people may have a problem with how people will view them. Like, how will people
Oh,
look at me? if I change. And for some people, the opinions and the matters of others may influence some people really heavily. So you should care what people think about you to a certain extent. But when it comes to serving a father, uh, it's about put all those things away, putting all those things down, and and just getting rid of the former things in our lives that cause us uh, to stumble. The things that was once in our lives that cause us not to grow close to the Father. And as we in this walk and we continue to walk, we're going to find that change, even in the walk, is necessary. One thing that you taught me was that there's a more excellent way to serving the Father.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, so if I find a more excellent way, or the Father shows me a better way, how are other people going to view me now that I'm not doing the same things I used to do and the same things that people are accustomed to? You know, and it could be difficult at times, but that's what having brothers and sisters that are on the same accord plays a huge role in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think. Oh, well, that was good. All of those points is something that we're going to try to hit and maybe try to comfort one another in these good things, in the things of the covenant, and then those that can impact, because fear can impact those decisions greatly, greatly. All right, my brother, did you have anything you want to chime in there, Joshua?
Shalom, shalom.
Well, shalom, brother.
Praise Yah. All glory to the King of Kings.
Hallelujah.
So, if I understand what you were saying and what my brother was commenting on, you were saying like pretty much what fears, like how does fear impact our willingness to change?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's loaded. That's loaded. That's loaded. There's so many things, and I love what JD said. Keeping up with appearances can really hold you back. It really can because we sometimes we let the opinions of others rule over us. And I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
what really, for myself, I guess it's also not being honest with yourself. Sometimes knowing what needs to change. Having a good examination and knowing where you need to start. And I think that begins with humility, like a lack of fear. And I'm talking about the reverence of the Most High. Um, and I think another way of saying it is not valuing the set apart things or just wanting to be honest. How authentic am I being?
Mm-hmm.
Or how much am I letting popular opinion or I guess popular opinion would be the best way of going with this. Am I letting popular opinion dictate the way I think, or am I letting the truth of the word, impact the way I think and how I see my life, how I see others in their life, because it's very easy for us to just go with the flow and think
Mm-hmm.
that the way it is the way it's always been. But if we want to come at this with a manner of humility, it's easy to come across the something and say, I already know that. But do you really? Do you really know? And if you don't know, or if you want to be honest with yourself, it would be good to say, so that I can be trained and not really run off my own estimation because it'll cut down your mistakes. So I think that that's where I would go with in terms of fear. Sometimes we don't want to just say, I don't know it.
Right, right, absolutely. The wilderness, you have to be able, when you're willing, you have to be able to yield, right, with your whole heart. So the first thing to do is be willing to do that. right? So in order for do that, you have to refuse something else, right? So when you you know are first of all, I want to, when you're seeking something, then you saying, okay, I want to change. Now change takes place, I want to say just about daily, because naturally in your body something's changed every day. You can use 12-hour periods, you can use 24-hour periods, or whatever it is. Whether your hair grows on your head, and unless you're like me, it somehow it only grows on one side, but everything is growing. Your fingernails grow. All of these things, something is transforming, and that's where we want to get, is in a wilderness to do this. So you have to have a desire. Now, most times we don't have a desire, but something gets in our way. What are some things you think get in our way from changing? First of all, we start with the word, and then you can, interject other things in our lives too as well. But what do you think is some things, maybe, that maybe in your life, or something that that could be difficult for us to change? Is it that we need all the information? What is it? What y'all think, if you chime in a little bit on that?
I, what Yehoshua had to say was really spot on. And sometimes we think we know a particular thing, but we may not actually know the fullness of it. And if I think, and also it's certain traditions too, because we tend to be safe in our traditions. We tend to be safe. We feel safe in the things that we've been doing for a long time. And when we're talking about changing those things, it can create all type of emotions for certain people. But like you brought out, the willingness though, is my walk truly predicated on serving the Father? Like, do I really want to serve the Father? Because when I start to really submit myself to the Father, I'm gonna have to realize that change is necessary to get to a certain place in my walk. Because one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to be in a certain area, and eventually we stunt our growth, because we're supposed to grow. Like the analogy you said with the nails in our body, well, that's us as well. With change is very necessary when you're in a walk and you're trying to serve the Father, and especially for those who may come from a certain place um, in life, or a certain part in their walk. And that's why, personally, for me, I know my change came within 2 years maybe, and how I started serving the Father, and where he pointed me to be and where I'm at now is just I love it. I love where I'm at, and I praise the Father for everything that He has given me when it comes to being in this walk, and doing this with my wife and my children, and with my Mishpachah.
All right, excellent, excellent. What do you think, my brother?
All right. That was awesome. That was on point. That
Yeah.
lined up. The light bulbs went off. I saw the hint that you were dropping a little bit. Was that some Hebrew up there that you had me read?
Yes, yes, I can get it back up. We're talking about the wilderness on that. Being
Okay.
willing, yeah. And so if you want to, I didn't want to drop the Hebrew on that. I don't want to put that up there. That's for sure.
It's the
Uh,
ads. It's for the
yeah, yeah.
sake.
What's going on? I thought I cut that out. Okay, we're gonna put the right one up this time, hopefully. That's quickly vanish. Let me see here. Why did that show up like that? I didn't. I need to. Let me do it this way. Make it
That
bigger.
word was love, correct?
Huh?
The word ahav, love, is that the word you have
No,
right there?
it's willingness. It's with the B, the bat sound. I put it
Oh,
back
okay.
up. Yeah, there you
Thank
go.
you.
Uh huh.
Oh, I switched the last two letters in my mind.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll get you, Mr. Hebrew man. We'll get you.
2 letters. That's a long way
Yeah.
off in Hebrew.
Right. Right. So what does that say, my brother? What does that say then?
Ahab.
Okay. There you go. Absolutely.
No, my
Yeah.
bad. I have the wrong word.
No. 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 That's fine. That's fine, brother. Put it up where you can see it. It's
I said
small.
the wrong word.
Right. Right.
Abba.
Yeah. So in if you wanted to comment on that, it's accepting the desire to yield is where I like to pull it out in that. But I wouldn't want to cut you off. I wanted to bring that up to help you, not to stop you there, my brother.
Oh, praise Yah. Yeah, I'm gonna search that one out. But there was something that Brother JD dropped, and I think it was gonna line up with the willingness, like you had right there,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me think of Abraham, and the way it came out was like, okay, well, what can hinder us in our change? Well, sometimes it's we like to use the term move, but we're not willing to move out of this place of safety we've built. Sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
only learn enough to be comfortable with something. We really don't want to learn everything. And then when we come across somebody who may, if I know 3 steps of a 4-step process and I meet the guy that knows the 4th step, now I'm like, okay, well, we're not all scholars. Well, no, it's the 4th step. It should be something you should know. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean that in the sense of sometimes we're afraid to learn more. We're afraid to know something really. I mean, here we are. You just pulled up a Hebrew word, and I haven't ever researched that word or learned or looked into it that hard. But I'll probably come across it. But what I'm saying with all that is that language. That's the language that the text that we call the scriptures, the Bible, have it what you may. That's something not everybody's gonna want to get neck deep in, but we should be willing to say what it says in its original context and its original language.
Yeah.
That should mean more than my personal interpretation. And I think sometimes that means I got to come out of my place of safety. Sometimes we have to go like, oh, that's not what that word means. And I mean that in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of everything, not just the written language. um yeah, like, let's be honest about the other things in our life.
Yeah.
you know Abraham was called into the wilderness, and he had to leave things behind, his father's house,
Mm-hmm.
relatives. And the same with the Messiah. The Father called him into the wilderness, and he left all his disciples behind, all of his family, everybody, to go find the Father. And what I'm saying, technically, he was being tested, but I think that's written in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2, that the Father, that's like a personal objective that everybody's going to have to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Are we willing to do the Father's desire? And I think that means we've got to come out of our place of safety in order to be refined. It's the same thing with finding raw goods in the wilderness. If you go out to the store, if you will, you're not going to eat right there in the store, all things being normal. You're going to take it home and eat. So what I'm saying by that is we need to be willing to go to a place where things are appropriate, where things are right, where they line up, and instead of doing everything according to our own feelings. you know I think that would really help us, because sometimes we're not willing to change because the way we see it, we don't want to see it another way. And sometimes that other way that we're rejecting may be the way we need to see it. But it's viewed dangerous, is as a dangerous thing, if we decide to open up to things that we really haven't really experienced before. I brought up Hebrew as an example, but realistically, we could just do that with scriptural context as a. Most people, we've all come across it. If we come at the word, it's not a buffet for you to pick and choose, and throw out the salad. You just want steak, if you will. but it's the whole enchilada, as people say. So if we say we want to serve the Messiah, well, that must mean we also need to acknowledge how to serve the Messiah. That's not how to serve, in the love of the Messiah to the Father was not something that was done with the 21st century flair, So the way they were doing it back when the king was first walking the earth, we should be able to do something as similar as possible today. And we know that that started simple by observing the instructions and the commandments that are written in the word. So, are we willing to come out of a place of safety by saying that our 21st century estimation may be a little bit far off?
All right. Okay. All right. Well, I think that was definitely good. And Yaakov, Jacob, said to his household, and to all who, and this is Genesis 35:2, and to all who were in him, put away the foreign mighty ones that are among you, and cleanse yourself. Now, this is important. That's what this Hebrew word, we'll get right into that. But brother, we'll let you pop it up, let you say there's something to it. And change your garments. Okay. That word change there is something that we have to do. It is from one state to another. So when we change, it's one state to another. And so what I want to do is to make sure that we bring this all the way back in order to give the examples even to little ones, right? I want to pull this back because what I want us to think about is the change that's in our life. So when you change, then it's just like switching on garments. And then as we get more into this, if it's not this week, maybe next week, we'll open up the scriptures that you have to put on, right? And so for order for you to put on, there has to be a change in our life, right? It has to be a change. Now, I always want to keep it simple, of course, because it helps me. I'm just simple minded. And so it helps me. And so what I want to do is present to you, gentlemen. I asked you, gentlemen, about just a person or us or me or you or however we want to do. How is it that we want to make a change? And then most of all, when we make that change, sometimes we don't always stick to those things that we have changed. So change can be constant, right? Because it moves around a lot. And then when it comes to the things of the Father, I have to be willing, right, not to serve other mighty ones, right? And serve the Father, the creator of the universe, Yahweh, right? I'm gonna have to do that. It has to be there. And so in order for that to happen, I have to make sure that I make a change. But I have to be willing to do that, because a lot comes with that. When you say, don't serve other mighty ones, okay, now we're going to begin to, it's easy to say, I just serve the Father. Well, it's a lot of things that come with that. And this is where, and I'm kind of pulling this out here, this is where it says cleanse yourself, right? And I'm pulling this out because we were dealing with change, and that's what we had coming up with. And I am trying to help me understand what this change is, So when I make a change of clothes, if I have on, a red shirt and I put on a black shirt, they are not related. So I have made a change. Now I'm wearing, right, the black shirt. So the change that I want us to bring up in this short is that what change have we made in our lives? What is it that I see it and then now it should be like this? What does that look like? Because we need to present to those things, to others as well as those that are listening. What is that looking like? Because that's where I want to get. What does that look like? Y'all know me. I'm always trying to, because I think it's important. Because have I changed? Have I really changed? Because I had discovered something I thought I had changed and it didn't change. because maybe I wasn't willing, or maybe I had that fear what we was talking about. But I want to really home in on the change of this, and how this thing impacts my decision. Change impacts your decision because whatever you change, you're gonna. We'll talk more about this. Let me let y'all jump in on that part because if I don't, I keep going and I might throw the thought process off.
Oh, yes, sir. When it comes to the change, you said something earlier. You said mindset. And I believe that's where you know the change. That's when you know it's there because your mindset is different. You're not thinking the way you used to think. You're not used to behave. You don't perceive things the same way. Um, and there's so many examples of that. It could be something as in, I may have had a short temper,
Okay.
and now I gotten to the point where certain things or certain so-called trigger words will get me. They're not there anymore. That don't work on me anymore. And when you could just sit back and look at it and examine it, it's like, man, that what that person said would have took me to another level. What that person did would have took me to another level, but it didn't. So praise Yah for that. And that's when the mindset start to kick in, is when your actions start to reflect what you are willing to change. Another thing is being consistent with that change, and just dealing with that change on a daily basis. Dealing with it in your household, dealing with it on a workplace, dealing with it within an assembly, and understanding that, okay, this is something that I had to work on in order to get myself right before the Most High. And there's just so many different scenarios that you can throw in there. Um, but I believe that the true change will come when you start to act it out.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. Good. Good. Good, my brother. All right, my brother. You want to step up to the plate?
Oh, praise Yah. See, I'm in the thick of it. I'm taking it. I'm taking it as it comes because y'all are putting down some really good stuff. That was really good, and I think it really it helped. And I ran that word that you brought up there, More, which I'm really
Okay.
glad you did because I need visuals sometimes.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. All right.
but the word there for change it's a verb. It's the Hebrew word khalaf. It's
Kalaf. Yeah, I
het
can.
lamed fe.
Okay.
Yes,
Let me see if I can pull this up for us. I did have it. Long,
yes.
long as I have to make sure it's all the way out. Make sure the commercials. What is that? That one is willingness there. Okay, there we go. Uh
Khalaf.
oh, no, we
Yes.
lost it all together. Okay, did that pop
All
up?
right.
All right, yeah,
Yes. Let's see how what's yours says. Yours says to pass on. Yeah, that's like the comment. That's like a literal form
yes,
of it. And yes, it has to change to substitute, which a lot of times you're bringing that up a lot. But in this particular usage, it is used a lot for changing clothes. There's a lot of scriptures where this is used for changing clothes, like when King David's son died, and I think Yaakov said it to Lavan. He said, "You changed my wages." But the one that really stood forth for me was the fact that it can mean also to bring forth something new, which is where I believe we were headed. And the idea is it's as a new plant that's bringing forth new leaves or new buds, you know. And I think sometimes we've all had that. We've all had a plant that didn't grow. Frustrating. You water it, you put it in this place, and it looks like it's doing worse. You put it in that place, and it
all right. I think you done froze up again. Let me see. There you go.
I
You're
saw
back.
it this
Okay.
time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You're back. Yeah, you.
I
Yeah, we gonna have to get you some real internet over there. We.
I'm rocking. Said pretty good download speed. I'm gonna have to check it out
Yeah,
again. I don't know.
it's all good.
Um,
Yeah, roll on, my brother.
but yes, I think where I was headed with that is that we all know what it's like to wait for something to change, but it doesn't come. And it's like how much of that is in our life with the Father. You know, He's been working with us. You know, the idea is like He gives us, He gives to us that we then might change. You know,
Hmm.
that we would be new. He gives us a new breath, not for us to make yesterday's mistakes, but for us to learn from them. You know, so the idea is like how often are we like that plant that yes, we may have moved it from a different location, but there's something that hasn't changed. And I think that with us, especially if we're looking at the fact of like you were bringing up right here with with this verse, Yaakov is instructing his household there in Genesis 35 verse 2. Their change that he's asking them to do, and technically he's the head, so he's commanding it. He's saying that they need to put away something. And I believe those are the things that really will hold back when it comes to changing for the Most High. Yah is the Master Yeshua said that you cannot serve two masters. So sometimes there's something that's in the way of our change, and we got to be honest with that. It can be our state of mind. It could be those we keep around us, our habits, um, our interest, all sorts of things can really stop us. And in fact, this one right here is the biggest one: foreign Elohim, strange powers, and like Jedediah brought up, even bad traditions. Like sometimes the way we see something is just because somebody else said it, and we just believe it. You know, we never actually did any we never sought an understanding. So if we trust lying sources, why don't we even go after the ones that tell the truth? So I'm just saying that is that I believe if we wanted to be something new, we have to be honest about the changes that we need to make. And sometimes that means giving up the things that in the flesh you love. But at the
Hmm.
Ruach, it grieves you. It grieves the Ruach. And we just got to be honest about that.
Absolutely. So, when we are thinking about a change in our lives, right, and the steps that need is necessary, because once you make a change, then it affects everything around you. So if the changes can be like daily, but some are more intense than others, right? So every time you change, you affect everything around you, whatever it might be. And so we want to make sure that when we do make these changes, especially when it comes to the things of the Father, that they won't, that they will be in a, we'll say, positive light, right? Because it's going to affect everyone, you know. Even in the things that we will mistakenly do, they still affect everyone in that. And I think sometimes if we would look at is before we do something, if we would think about how many people it affect, then maybe that would help us. Brothers, I done said that several times, and I done said that at the assembly. One of the things that I think I forget to say though is, do people really care about other people, right? And so, even though I say that, if you really don't care about other people and you thinking about just me, then that particular statement that I made is not going to affect you, because it doesn't matter who's around you, because whatever change I make is for me. So sometimes when we make changes, these changes are not just for us, right? These changes, when you love someone else, whether it be immediate, husband, wife, children, father, mother, when it's immediate, right? Sometimes I have to be able to change for somebody else. And this is where I want to get into, because now I'm cutting, right? I want to cut, right? I want to cut to the point. I want to get deep in the marrow here. The thing is sometimes I think in these changes, when we do it, we are selfish in what we are doing, because we don't realize that whatever I'm getting ready to do is going to affect everyone, in that. If I get out and say, if I had to, my wife had to be at work at 12, and I feel like, oh, okay, I want to change the oil, and so it's getting close to 12, and I know that I should have maybe changed this earlier, but I think I can get it in real quick. Well, if I start changing the oil, and then it's closer to 12, and she said, "Are you ready?" I said, "No, I'm waiting on the oil. I didn't know that this was going to happen. I didn't know." Well, that's going to affect her being late for her job. Because she is late for her job, then it's going to affect the job situation. So my decision to try to do the oil instead of doing it earlier and trying to get it done before she goes to work now is now affecting her. Now she is classified as being late, and she is late because of something, the choices that I made, right? And so because I didn't want to make a change, wait till I take her to work and then change the oil, then I feel like the choice that I make to go ahead and do it, then I was thinking about, I just want to get it done before she get to work. So I guess I don't know if that's the best thing, but it is a thing to say that sometimes because she needed to get to work, maybe I needed to wait and get back to make sure that if something goes wrong, then it was not affect her. And I think this is something where we are really, really missing it as a whole, as a people, right? In the kingdom of Yah, is we have to realize it is not just us. It is not. You affect your neighborhood. You affect everything around you. When you go outside and when you go shopping, you affect everything around you. As soon as you step in those doors, now it's affecting you. You affecting everyone. Sometimes you go into the door. If I go down here at our HEB, sometimes it's a lady there, and she began to speak. Some people don't speak back. In other words, they don't greet her back. How you doing? They just keep going, right? So now it's getting ready to affect something. That's something that she has to do. But if I have made a change, then I make sure that if she spoke to me, I'll speak back. And so what I'm saying is I'm setting that tone for that. So not only does it affect everything else, but if I don't somehow get a hold on the fact that it affects everything around me on what I do, then I am going to lose out on something. It affects you. So when I'm making these changes and making these decisions to change, I have to consider everything around me, whether it be the job, just everything. It's just that effect. And early in my life, I didn't understand that, but it's very important. But I did catch it early enough to know that the love for others causes me not to do some things. And this is where we need to get. The love of others calls me not to do that because I have to be able to love them, right? I have to be able to love them. Put them in high esteem even before myself in order for this to happen. And so when I make a change or when I'm making changes, I need to look into that. I need to look into that before I do that. And so sometimes I don't slow down enough to make a decision knowing that what I'm getting ready to do is going to affect everyone around us, And I think I have practiced that even more. But I like for those that will listen and those that are present to remember those things, because when you do that, then that is a servant to the Most High, right? So whatever I'm going to do, whatever it is, it's going to be a servant to the Most High. So if I was to, cook dinner, then everybody, all of my family members can eat from that dinner. That's what I choose to do. and so everybody can partake of that. If I don't, cook, can't nobody take, partake of that. So the changes and then putting those changes in action is what I'm doing. And so when it comes to the things of the Father, when I make those changes, of course, when I obey him and do what he says and put those things in action, it still is going to affect everyone. Everyone in my household and everyone around me, everyone at work does not feel the same way I feel about the things of the Father, right? So it's going to make a change in their life. It's going to make a change on how they deal with me now, right? And sometimes they don't know all of the things that I go into. So these are the things that we have to consider when we make ourselves willing. We have to have a willingness to change. But if nothing else tonight is the willingness has to make sure we have to. I see this already that we're not thinking about how it affects other people. We're not thinking about that. Now, if we don't care about that, you'll never think about it. Okay, so you'll never be willing to do the things of the Father, because let me tell us this, or that it is rooted in loving one another. That's what our Mashiach told us. It is rooted in loving one another. So how does that look like? It looks like I have to, before I do something, I have to consider those that surround me in that. I have to slow down and consider that, you know. And so, it's not every little small thing, but I need to address some things before I speak, some things before I do. That is very important. Those things are important in order for us to be effective in the change that we are going to make in our lives. If nothing else, grab onto that and the fact that we need to consider others, right? We need to do that. The whole thing of Hamashiach, when he came, he was always considered others. That's the whole thing. Not my will, right? But your will be done, Father. Not my will, but your will be done. But his will, the Father's will, was always for somebody else. It wasn't just for him. When he came, he just didn't sit up to say the king of ready to reign in that sense, right? But he came as a servant. He came to serve, and he came to put these things in order because they was out of order. And he came to put it in order and to show us what we need to do. When you look at his life, you're going to find out that he came to serve others. It was more important than us. What can I do for you? So consider the changes when you change in your life. Consider those around you, that how it might affect them. And sometimes it'll keep us in a place that we need to be for as being set apart. Because we'll realize that if I don't continue to be set apart, then it's going to affect everybody around me, right? It's going to affect everybody around me. That's only if you care. Now, how do I know if you care or not? Because I know how it affects me. And when I'm just using me as an example, right? Things around me, third person I'm talking. So remember those things. Remember that how can I affect it? How all of these things are coming about, right? So we're going to need to understand that, how it's going to affect us. And so we have to have a willingness to change, right, on a continual basis. And I want to leave us on tonight with that for somebody else, right? I want that to be sink in on this first session, to give us something to meditate on and to put in your heart and to ask the Father, right? We consider and we make our requests to him about everything else, right? But ask the Father, how can this be done in my life. And then when he opens it up to us in our understanding, then what we need to do is follow through with it. Right? Once he open up our understanding, then follow through with it. And if he do that, right, then you will definitely be in a place where the Father desires when you loving your brother in that. All right, brother. Did y'all want to say any closing thing? I wanted to really get that. That was heavy on my heart in that, and I think it will really help us and take us to a level that where we need to be in our growth process in that. All right. Any questions on that or comments or anything?
Yes, sir. I love how you put it. Our decisions, how it affects others. You know, even like growing in this truth, when we have changed our whole mindset and we're operating on a different frequency, I like to think it for myself. How does that affect me and the people at work? You know, how does it affect those? I work with a lot of children. So how is it affecting the little ones? How is it affecting my peers? You know, the people who I work with. Is my mindset in the way that I walk, in my walk, is it causing others to stumble, or am I being a light to others? You know, so that's what I think about it. And I just love how you put that. Um, just really on what you said. Before I do something, I need to consider everything around me, because a lot of times we don't want to do that. Um, and sometimes we allow our emotions to get in the way of our decisions. But when you put on a new mindset and you're operating in a Father, your decisions that you make should always be on point and it should always come correct. And I just love how you put that, Elder. Um, you said what you talked about the Messiah, how it's rooted in loving one another. Now, what about the family? What about the assembly? Has my new mindset? How is it affecting those who are serving the Father with me? Am I becoming a stumbling block for them, or I'm in the process of helping lift them up? And that's all I have to say. Elder.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, my brother.
Oh, praise God. I
Hallelujah.
I've been built up by that. Really built up. And I really like what you just said just then, my brother. And in that sense, like echoing what Moria just said, is like what we do, is it rooted in love for one another? Because as I was listening to what you had to say right there, Moria, this willingness to change, I, I think there were certain things that the way I was seeing it, but there's some other ways that I was not seeing it. And I'm glad you said that. And one of them is, like you said, like what we're doing affects the people around us. Like every good thing in our life has, if we really want to be honest, it means more because we have people in our life to share it with. Like every good thing, every aspect of our life is better because we're not doing it alone. And just as the Messiah said, the world will know that we are his taught ones by our love for one another.
Yes, yes. Hallelujah.
So if I'm tearing down, what kind of taught one am I presenting myself as? Or if I'm building up? And what really hit me with what you were saying is getting my way and being flippant towards others. Perhaps those are two different things. Is that holding me back from fulfilling a love that will impact change in someone else's life? Because I really think we do that. I really think sometimes we want our way so bad that if we were just to yield to a more compassionate path, that it would change someone. And first off, it would start with us, of course. But when you were sharing that, More, what really hit me was earlier in the week we were talking about some parables and things. Um, but often it would tell us that because the Messiah was moved with compassion, he would act. And that really is standing out to me with what you were saying. Like if we're being moved with compassion for others, greeting every person we see, that little thing is going to mean something. Or, that parable, like you and I were talking about, the man he's beaten and bloody on the side of the road. Am I willing to give up something of my plan? I mean, I had something to go do. Or am I willing to step aside and take care of this individual to heal or to bring about good things to this person? And I think, like, in doing that, we can change our status, and we could be known as, like you brought up in one time, as the one who's a healer of the breach. You know why? Because I'm that person who decided to move out of my way, to put away my personal plan to go do for someone else. And I think that that's one of the highest levels of service we can offer to one another. And if we're willing to change that, I think, what can hold us back? And I think you said before, owe no one nothing but love, because it's written. But at the same time, to owe no one nothing but love, that means there's other things I have to remove from the equation.
Yeah.
If I'm paying people back with strife, if I'm paying people back with envy, if I'm holding grudges, I need to change all those things in order to only be able to owe you love. So in order to only owe you love, I have to now see you in a light that's higher than myself, like you brought up earlier. And to do that, that means I need to have compassion for you, and I need to be humble within myself. And it's like that's a huge change from every morning I get up. Why? I get in my car. I need to be first off the line. I need to be first there. I need to, if we can have that. I heard it said once, we need to have a you second mindset, me second. Because if I put someone else in first place in my life, then I'll be willing to do just that. I'll be willing. So I like what you were saying. And I think what stood out to me was when you brought up earlier about like the change, like being honest with the change. I think there's a story in the 4th chapter of John where the Messiah encountered a woman, and she needed to change some things, but
Hmm.
she wasn't able to really change them until she got confronted on her behavior, the way she was acting, the way she was living, the way she was thinking. And then after doing so, she then went to bring that new change she received to everybody. And I think that that's something that we could all learn from. It's like, if I want to change, I first need to address what's stopping me from changing, and then go and then be the new one immediately. I don't need to just sit there and chew on it for days. I can change quickly, but make it a deep rooted change. And I like that what you were saying. So hopefully those things were congruent. But I really enjoyed the points you made about putting others in a position that's higher than ourselves.
Absolutely. I think you brothers put that good icing on the cake. I think we can eat of that, and that's something that we would chew on. And if the Father give us the opportunity, we'll be back on next week in order to continue this. And I did have the make sure I got the scripture here. But we will. I'm gonna hold this for next week. But when of course Jedediah had brought that up, that was the next scripture that I was going to introduce to us as well. In that. So on that, well, here we go again. Okay. Well, let me go back here. Got a lot going on here. Okay, there we go. All right, to introduce to that, and I do apologize on that. I had different screens on here going, going. But most times you go to some of these sites and they have, and y'all guys know it, little advertisement on the side. So I try to make it big where I can. We know that with Bible Hub, and then of course these Hebrew scriptures. in that. So I just wanted to reiterate that, just in case it get out there in that. All right, my brothers, I think that we're going to maybe just go ahead and close this, and want to everybody know that's still with us. That's Let me look in here. Shalom, shalom. All right, to the whole family. You look like we got a few here, and then those of you, that, of course, that's not in here as well. Hopefully that it will can give you, just things to consider, things that we can be renewed in our mind, and that's something that, like I say, we'll pick up on next week. So. All right, brothers, was that it? Any final? We
No,
good?
sir.
All right, we good? All right. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you, outstanding students of the word, and may the Father continue to enrich your life, and that we can be doers of the word and not hearers only. Shalom, shalom.